Throners, welcome back. It's Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist and CEO of the Mastering Your Mind Coaching and Consulting Company. And today I want to talk right to the part of you that's standing right on the edge of change, right? That part of you that can feel that pull towards something new, something deeper, something freer, but it also feels terrified to take that next step. So maybe that part of you has been whispering for a while and saying, there's more for me. And you've tried to shove it down, you've tried to ignore it, you've tried to let whatever life is just be okay. And you've told yourself that you should just be grateful for what you have, but that whisper isn't going away. And that's because the whisper is your authentic self that's calling you forward. And that call doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care what you've done before. It doesn't care how many times you've started over. That is that deeper part of you that sometimes we can't even tune into because our automatic self is so loud. But that's the part of you that just wants you to wake up to who you really are and to begin again. So I want to talk about the courage to begin again because it really takes some serious courage to leave behind everything that's defined you, to walk away from a job title or an identity or a salary or a reputation and to step into the unknown. And I see this every day. I mean, I've seen this in myself, right? So that is what the people in my Mind Method certification program are doing, men and women in their 50s and 60s who are beginning again, right? They've spent decades in careers like accounting and real estate and the mortgage business and human resources and healthcare. And right, they've been responsible, they've taken care of their families, they've done everything right. And now they're stepping into something that feels more meaningful, something that feels aligned with who they've become. And it's not because their paths were wrong, it's because they've outgrown that path, right? So, and there are those of you who know that whatever your path is, you know you've outgrown it. You've outgrown certain relationships. You've outgrown certain friendships. You've outgrown certain patterns in your life. You've outgrown certain behaviors in your life that you know doesn't serve you, right? So, listen, I've been speaking to people all week because we're getting ready to start in a few weeks. And, I hear things like, my mother thinks I'm crazy for changing careers at my age, or what if I'm not good enough to start over and it's too late for me? Let me tell you, wherever you are, in whatever it is that is your next chapter that's unfolding, right here, this is exactly where transformation begins. Okay. It begins at the intersection between your inner critic's fear and your authentic self's calling. Okay. Right. So in my Mastering Your Mind program, I have women who are beginning again in different ways, right? Some are leaving long-term marriages. Some are discovering who they are once their children are leaving the nest, right? Who am I now that I'm not needed in the same way? Some are finally writing the novel that they've dreamed about for years. Some are learning how to change their relationship with themselves that impacts every other part of their life. So they're all realizing that even though their lives look fine from the outside, they're not feeling the peace and contentment and fulfillment that they long for, that they're craving. And just that realization alone, to be able to say to yourself, I am not feeling the way that I want to feel about myself and my life. that takes an incredible amount of courage as well, because every time you decide to listen to that deeper voice inside that says it's time to live differently, your inner critic is going to start screaming about that, right? Doesn't make it easier, it makes it harder. But that's how you know that you're on to something. So let's dive in here. Let's first talk about your inner critic's reaction to change. Okay. Now remember, your inner critic's job is to keep you safe. That part of you was hardwired a long time ago, before the age of 10. So that part of you is wired to protect you from the unfamiliar. So the moment that you start to step outside of what's predictable, whether that's a career change or a relationship change or a new way of thinking, that part of you, that inner critic self, is going to flood you with fear. And it's going to say, you're too old for this, or you're not ready, or this isn't going to work out for you, or what will people think? But here's what I need you to understand. That voice is not telling you the truth. It's just telling you what's familiar. It's just trying to keep you inside of your comfort zone, okay? Because the human brain equates familiar with safe. But safe and fulfilling are not the same thing. So your inner critic self wants comfort. Your authentic self wants freedom. And those two parts will always be in tension with each other, especially when you're growing. So I want to share my own story, okay? I have walked this path many, many, many times. And just a few short years ago, I invested over $70,000 in a coach, okay? And I did that because my inner critic convinced me that this coach knew more than I did. And she had the answers that I didn't. And if I followed her way, I would finally be able to reach the amount of people that I wanted to reach with this transformation. Okay. So, what did I do? I silenced my intuition. I stopped trusting myself. And over the next 2 years working with her, I tried to fit her formula. And I almost tanked my entire business. And it was painful and it was humbling and it was incredibly expensive. But it was also one of the most transformative experiences of my life, because it taught me that everything that happens, even the hard, messy, expensive lessons, it's not against us, it's for us, especially those most painful lessons. Those are for us. So that experience of working with that coach forced me to reclaim my own wisdom and my own power. It actually showed me that no one knows my truth better than I do. And it deepened my trust in that voice within me that can't be measured or strategized or explained. It's just that inner intuitive knowing. Right? Now, that doesn't mean I don't need support with other things. Of course, I have tons of support, right? But in this one area, with this particular person, my inner critic was guiding my choices, right? So that's what this work is for. This is the difference between the voice of your inner critic self and the voice of your authentic self. And sometimes you can get sidetracked. And even when you do, like I did, even just a few short years ago, that deepened my relationship to my authentic self. So when you're misaligned, life starts sending you signs. It is literally like there is a knock from the universe. Okay. So at first, it just feels like this quiet restlessness. And then it grows. It becomes frustration. It becomes anxiety. It becomes burnout. Or it becomes a deep sense of something is missing. Now, That's not failure. That is literally your soul knocking. So the longer you ignore the knock, the louder it becomes, right? First, you get the pebble upside your head. Then you get the brick that falls on your head. And then before you know it, the whole brick wall has to fall on your head, right? But I don't want the brick wall to fall on your head. So you've got to get to the point that you can't unhear that authentic self anymore. And you realize that the life that you've built, even as good as it's been, it's no longer a fit for the person that you've become and the person that you know that you're continuing to become as you're moving forward. So that's the moment that you stop trying to fix your life and you start redesigning it. So that's why I created the mind method. There's plenty of ways to redesign your life. This is just my way of redesigning your life. And I call it the blueprint for beginning again. Okay. Because your mind has been shaped by decades upon decades of beliefs and conditioning and fear. So that mind is never going to lead you to the life that your soul is trying to create for you. So you have to know how to separate from that automatic mind. And that's what the mind method teaches you to do. So I want to just walk you through that together and kind of tell you a little bit about how I apply it to my life. So the M step is meet your inner critic. Now, this is where you begin to clearly observe and hear your inner critic's thoughts and beliefs. Who triggers them? What triggers them? What situations make that voice the loudest? What does it sound like when your inner critic is in charge, right? So you start to notice those patterns, those thoughts like, yeah, I should have done this earlier, right? Or, I don't know that I really have what it takes to really create the vision that I know I want for myself, right? So you begin to see that those thoughts aren't really new. They've just changed costumes over the years. So now we come to the I step, which is to investigate the indication signs. Now, those are your warning lights, right? Your blinking red lights. These are your nervous system reactions. These are your painful emotions. These are your unhealthy coping behaviors. So these are the signs that your inner critic is running the show, that it's literally running your life. So maybe your chest tightens before a difficult conversation. Maybe you shut down when you feel rejected. Maybe you are overworking and overthinking and overgiving just to try to control somebody else's experience of you. Again, these are not random habits. These are protective patterns that were created a long, long time ago. So when you investigate them with curiosity instead of judgment, you actually start to understand the ways that your mind has been trying, sometimes desperately, to keep you safe. And that awareness alone starts the transformation. Now, the end step, this is really the anchor of the mind method. The end step is neutralize the never ending message. So this is where you interrupt the loop because we think we're having new thoughts about our lives, right? New fears about this new chapter, new doubts, but we're not. So your I'm not good enough thought has been with you in some way, shape, or form for your whole life. You had some version of that when you were 15 and 25 and 35 and 45. So your thought, what if I never get the life I want? That's not new either. That is the same old story your inner critic has been whispering for decades. And when we don't know that, when we don't see it as a never ending story, and we don't know how to separate from that voice, we think those thoughts pertain to these particular circumstances. And then that's how it runs our entire world. It keeps us spinning and reacting and overthinking and comparing. And it convinces us that those thoughts are facts. So when you learn to neutralize that never ending message, everything changes. Again, this is not one and done. That never ending message sometimes shows up for me 20 times in an hour. I just know what it is. So when it shows up, I see it, I unhook myself from it, I plug myself into very different thoughts, very different beliefs that create very different emotions that have me taking very different actions that has my life going in a completely different direction. We can never get rid of that never ending message, right? But when you really start to see that those thoughts are not you, that they're simply conditioned neural pathways, they are literally automatic patterns in your brain that have been firing for so long that those patterns have convinced you that they're truth. So, in that space of awareness, this is how your nervous system calms, not because the circumstance changes, but you can calm your nervous system and soften your body and know that you are not that thought. But here's where the real transformation happens. You also realize that you can plug yourself into very new thoughts and beliefs. And those are thoughts and beliefs that your authentic self thinks. So beliefs like, I'm being guided. So even the painful parts are guided to me so that I can get to the next level of my growth. You can choose to believe that everything in your life is unfolding for you. And you can choose to believe that it's safe to live your true purpose. So the more you practice choosing those thoughts and beliefs, the more your brain rewires itself to support that new truth. And when you rewire those thoughts and beliefs in your brain starts emitting different chemicals, different neurochemistry. So I've been doing this work for years. I can honestly tell you, I am no longer the woman that I was even a few short years ago. And I mean this not just in mind, I mean this in mind, body, spirit. So there was a time when my inner critic would fill my mind with thoughts like, what if all this hard work isn't really going anywhere? And what if I never get this opportunity to bring this transformation to the world, even though I know it's what I'm here to do? And now when I look back on those thoughts, it actually feels like they belonged to someone else because I have literally rewired a different mind that's built on trust and possibility and truth. Now, again, this did not happen overnight, but that's what this work does. It rewires your inner world so completely that the old thoughts no longer feel like home. And that's what I want for everyone. Because when you neutralize the never ending message of your inner critic, you free yourself to consciously design a new reality. And that new reality is one that your authentic self knows is possible for you, even if your inner critic self does not know that. So the D step, design your life, that's where the real magic happens, right? So you are designing your life from your future self instead of your past self. So you're letting the version of you who already knows what's possible, who already feels free and peaceful and fulfilled now, take the lead. So when you're no longer being controlled by your automatic mind, a completely different self emerges. And sometimes that self has been buried under years of fear and responsibility and conditioning. So many people say, I don't even know that self. I didn't even know that I was merged with a self that's been conditioned and has been automatic, right? They've been so identified with their automatic mind that that's the only identity that they've known. So, from this place of seeing this new self emerge, you stop reacting and you start creating. You make choices from trust instead of fear, and you stop chasing outcomes and you start allowing alignment. And that's what it really means to live from your authentic self. So you're not really starting over, you're starting from power. So whether you're leaving a career or ending a marriage or redefining your purpose or just simply learning how to love yourself again, you're never starting over. You're beginning again from wisdom and strength and truth. So the thing is, everything that you've lived up until this very moment, every challenge, every mistake, every heartbreak, every part of what you did that makes you go, oh, right? The cringiness when we look back on who we used to be and how we used to be towards other people. Oh my goodness, right? All of it has been preparing you for this next chapter because it's never too late to become who you are meant to be. It's never too late to step into your purpose. It's never too late to live your life that your authentic self has been just waiting for you to claim. So if you've been hearing that inner whisper, if you know that you're ready to create something new, but something's been holding you back, call it fear, call it doubt, call it finances, right? This is your invitation to listen and to trust and just to begin from here because that life is waiting for you and you are right on time. So if you're listening right now and you are feeling that pull, that whisper that says, it's time, trust it. That is your authentic self inviting you to step into the next version of your life. If you would like support with that, if you're ready to bring transformation to others, I'd love to talk to you about the Mind Method Certification Program. If you're ready to do this work for yourself, to reconnect with your authentic self or to newly connect with your authentic self and create a life that feels aligned and free, then the Mastering Your Mind program is maybe exactly where you need to start. So either way, the invitation is the same. Stop waiting for permission to begin again, right? And start with courage, with self compassion, and with trust. Because again, that life isn't something you have to chase, it's something that you've been waiting for and something that you need to just allow. So, this is your time. If you'd like to connect with me, the link is in the show notes. You can also go to masteringyourmind.com, schedule some time to connect with me, send me an email at hello@dethroningyourinnercritic.com. I would love to talk to you. Thanks so much for tuning in today.